Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Om Shanti Shanti. Namaste everyone. Welcome to our 28th Annual Whale Yoga Festival and the 7th International Day of Yoga celebrations. Today our subject is Buddhism and Yoga. Our moderator and the partnership organization leading monk is Reverend Dr. T.K. Nakagaki. He is the president of the Haiwa Peace and Reconciliation Foundation of New York and the President Emirates Buddhist Council of New York in USA and Japan. And we have some other special guests, Reverend Tapavanai Suttadara and Kenpo Prema Vandak, Venerable Rafashi, Sadhuji Sri Lelidambika Devi Ji, Professor Lynch James, and some of our advisors and board members are in the meeting. Here I'll hand over to Reverend Dr. T.K. Nakagaki. Nakagaki will continue the program. T.K., floor is for it.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Namaste. I hope you can hear me all right.
Yeah.
So,
Nakagaki will continue the program. T.K., I think somebody is using two devices, that's why.
Oh, that's what happens. And is that mine? I hope not.
Maybe. He's using two devices, that's why.
Oh, that's what happens. And, is that mine? I hope not.
Mute.
He's
using two devices, that's why.
Oh, that's what happens. And, is that mine? I hope not.
Mute. Let me see. Unmute yourself now. Okay. This computer, what you are using now? This computer, what you are using now? This computer, what you are using?
Sorry. Hi. Before I start, the Guruji, do me a favor.
Yeah.
Venerable Pema, can I find a link? So are you able to send it to him? The link.
What is his email?
That's on the email that I have for you. I sent it this morning, so maybe you can send it again to everyone.
I'll check it.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Please continue.
Okay, thank you so much again. Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining. Today we have, it's an international part of the Yoga Day, so I congratulate Venerable Guruji. He's been doing this for every day from 10 to 12 until 30 days, which is amazing that he can continue this. And then, so we'll be talking about different aspects of the yoga from the different part of the thing. So for the Buddhist group, we like to also talk about the yoga and Buddhism, basically. And then we have different tradition leaders here today. And so we could have variety of understanding. Even actually, until I get this kind of topic, the yoga and Buddhism, I didn't realize, I mean, the other tradition has a kind of more different relationship to yoga, although it's same Buddhism, but then each tradition has a different, well, of course, the different tradition. So that's why there's a place of the yoga is a kind of differently. So I hope this conversation will be interesting. And so we do have people from Theravada tradition, Mahayana tradition, but even Mahayana, there's a different countries too. So we have a couple Chinese, Japanese, and also and then there's some people combined yoga together with Buddhism. So there are many parts, and then also Vajrayana, Theravada, Vajrayana tradition will be here with us too. So it's all different traditions of Buddhism we're gathering here. Not all of them, of course. Some of the representing Buddhist traditions. And so it's actually, I'm actually looking for hearing all of the comments and the understanding of yoga in the Buddhist perspective. So thank you very much for Guruji give us this opportunity to hold this conference itself. So I'm personally really looking for hearing today. And so before we start, I will begin with a little chanting, but then it's with a little music. So the Guruji requests a little bit about music would be nice. So can we relax, and at the same time you can focus as we do too. And so as we do the music, I'll do Bandhananti Sarana, and then together with the instrumental music. So I hope you can calm down your mind. This instrument is called tambul, which is actually, it's not even like Eastern things, or more like coming from the Middle East, the instrument. If you know the one, that would be nice. And then this tambul will be played by Lula Leila, and she's also a Japanese singer actually, but so this one is, she'll just play the instrument. And then later in the end of the program, I'll show the very good the music with the singing as well. Okay, so we begin with this what do you call it, meditation. So please join me in meditation, and sit with your back straight and relax your body, and follow your breath. This is her. Bhagavato Sammasambuddhassa. Namo tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sammasambuddhassa. Namo tassa Bhagavato gacchami dhammam saranam gacchami Ditiyampi buddham saranam gacchami Ditiyampi dhammam saranam gacchami Ditiyampi sangham saranam gacchami Tatiyampi buddham saranam gacchami Tatiyampi dhammam saranam gacchami Tatiyampi sangham saranam gacchami Thank you. And we'll have actually the speakers part, and us later. I'm sorry about another background noise and all those things, and but I hope we have some parts that enjoy, and so calming down our mind, so we can begin the conversation. And so, once again, Guruji, thank you very much for inviting us. And we have the Buddhist group from the related to the more like Buddhist Council of New York. So also even some person from California join us, recommended by one of the Sri Lankan monk from the Buddhist Council of New York. So yeah, thank you so much. And so we can just start one by one, and so what I'd like to introduce, first we'll do a little more like Theravada tradition, Mahayana tradition type of things. So first we will have a Venerable Tapo Vanaya, Siddhartha Dara. And let me just switch my glasses. I just couldn't see. Sorry. Yeah. So, And then after that, we'll have James Lynch, who is president of the Buddhist Council, and Venerable Ripa from the Temple Enlightenment, and Swamini, Latitamblika Deva, Devi, sorry. And then the Venerable Ramapema Wandak from Tibetan tradition. And so each one I'll go introduce later one by one before they start. And then lastly, I'll just pitch in also. And the first of all, today, first speaker is actually again, Venerable Tapovanaya Suttadaran. He is the president of Tapovanya International Buddhist Center and the director. I hope I can pronounce it. Anglak Mission Buddhist Temple in Ventura, California. And he incorporates yoga asana and Tai Chi practices in his meditation classes. He's a certified yoga teacher as well. So, Venerable, could you take over?
Thank you, Venerable Dr. TK. Then, good morning, everyone. Greetings from Ventura, California. This is a great pleasure to meet all of you virtually. And today, when you talk about this, the topic, Buddhism and yoga, that well, in Buddhist community, some people ask this question, then did Buddha practice yoga, or he recommended practicing yoga? It is coming from, I think, this the confusion that present day, the most popularly known part of yoga is asana, the postures. This asana practice is has been just practiced all over the world as the practice that we find largely used for different purposes, mainly health reasons. And so it's true that the whole yoga, when we look at eight-limb yoga, that the many who are talking about yoga asana questions, that did Buddha practice yoga or recommended yoga? Then the people assume that about this asana only, or the postures. But when you look at eight-limb yoga asana, the yoga practice, that is Ashtanga yoga, well, all the other parts are found in Buddhism too. There's all these yama, universal ethical principles, niyama, rules of personal conduct. Then pranayama, the practice of yoga breathing techniques, that's a health practice. And also asana is also practice of yoga postures. But then all pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, all are incorporated in what we call bhavana. And then when we categorize Buddhism, Buddhist practice into dana, generosity, and sila, the virtue, and bhavana, the meditation. When I look at this, there is no actually disagreement. And also, we cannot just expect that, well, Buddhism coming into existence 6th century BC in India, or Mahabharata, that to expect it to be just implanted from somewhere else. It grew up, it developed in the Mahabharata soil. So all during the 6 years of the Buddha's quest for what is wholesome, he practiced, he studied with so many different teachers. So, those who have had the dhyana, the meditation, and so also that practice is already practice was already there. Then, since it was generally done by all, including probably the asanas, and then because the asana is defined as that the firm happiness is achieving firm happiness is what we expect from asana. When you go into the discourse on establishing mindfulness in 4 areas: body, the feelings, mind, and thoughts. Generally, we summarize it into those 4. They are about the body contemplation that start with that keeping your body tall, straight, relaxed. That is found in that sutta. So just the basic question that I had was when I practice meditation, keeping my body back straight. So always I used to slouch. And then when I was introduced to yoga asanas, actually that helped me to keep my back tall, straight, and then also the pain that came with the sitting position went away too. So I think practically it is happening there. So that is how probably the Buddha was able to, as the story explains, that he was sitting under the Bodhi tree all night. So he could continue to his meditation because of this Sthira Sukhamasana, right? Then also Sthira Sukhamasana is that firm, achieving firm happiness in the posture. Then when we look at this, what is really yoga? It is the actually putting a hold to this busy stream of thoughts coming and going and coming and going. So that is what yoga, putting body, mind together roughly when we talk about yoga. Then there are that again, when we come into this, the Buddhist practice, and I think that developing mindfulness in sitting is the sitting part of the meditation is very important. Then taking that into our day-to-day action, there should be a way. The asana practice gives us a very good foundation and the training to keep our mindfulness training in movement. So all these, when you are putting your body into these postures, without your body, mind together, you cannot keep your balance. And also, and then with asana, we achieve balance, flexibility, blood circulation, and concentration together. So these are the when we look at inside yoga practice, actually there is no disagreement. Rather, I would say that always it is part of this big, larger spiritual practice in the Indian subcontinent. And to develop mindfulness, keeping your attention into one particular focus, you need to have the always you need to have this complete relaxed body, and then only you can still your mind. So I personally think, and also my understanding so far, practicing yoga asanas for over 10-15 years, I achieve this the result. So with that, I think with that note, I would like to wind up, and there is no disagreement between Buddhism and or Hindu, the greater tradition. It's finally it is coming into that if we exclude this asana practice, we have to exclude that we all absorb, very welcome, embrace the Ayurveda, because when you look at the philosophical traditions, these are developed that Sankhya and Yoga. Sankhya is definitely directly connected with the Ayurvedic practice. Sankhya philosophy, as far as I see, is very foundational in developing Ayurveda, the general medicinal practice in India. So with these few things, I just like to wind up. Thank you for listening to me. So may all beings be well, happy, and peaceful.
Yeah, thank you very much, Venerable and Bante. Very interesting to listen to you, and so I appreciate so much for your sharing with, as a yoga teacher as well, on the combination with the Buddhism. And today, also, by the way, for the speakers, we're asking for about 7 to 10 minutes. So, yeah, hope you can keep time. And next, we will have James Lynch. He's actually current president of the Buddhist Council of New York, and so he's also represent many parts, as you probably know, but he's part of the lay Buddhist organization Rishoko Sekai, and he's a Dharma teacher of there, a certified one. And actually, he helped for the Hewa Foundation, so he's a vice president of the Hewa Foundation, Hewa Peace and Reconciliation Foundation of New York, that one of the co-sponsors this time for today's events. And also, he the part of the peace, revision for peace, I guess. So that's another area that he's in too. And his profession is a lawyer also. So he's been helping a lot of way in the law aspects of the organization, the Buddhist Council, and the Hewa Foundation, and others as well. So he's a chairman of the business management department at the Brooklyn College. So James.
Thank you. That's okay. That was nice of you. Very nice of you to give me that warm introduction. I just want to say I'm here as a friend to Dileepji and to you and to everyone here as well. I don't want to repeat what was said, right? I think Bante and Venerable said a beautiful introduction on the natural symmetry between Buddhism and yoga. A lot of times before my practice, I'm a Risho Kosakai member, which is a Japanese, as I say, a Japanese lay Buddhist organization. And while we don't talk about yoga outwardly, we've often, for example, we have yoga sessions in our Dharma center before COVID. So, and a lot of the practitioners in Risho Kosakai are actually yoga teachers. So, clearly we don't see any separation in that way. The things that I wanted to point out is I think that the approach is a little different. Yoga, through the asanas and the body postures and things of that nature, they focus on the body first as a way to get to, if I remember correctly, moksha, right? Liberation in that context. So in Risho Kosakai's teaching, in my particular path tradition, there's no problem with that, because everything is sacred. We call it the one great life. It's the movement of the one great life under the understanding of the Buddha, and one of the sutras called the Lotus Sutra. And therefore, even the bodies and being aware of the subtle energies in the body is the process by which you can have mindfulness really be deepened. In other words, I think that for me, I've read in the past in my practice, in my search, even with my Buddhist practice, Patanjali. And so, as Bhante and Venerable was saying previously, I believe those lessons that I learned from him influence my Buddhist practice today. To teach the same sort of ethics and approach to the sacredness of our life and our existence, and of course the sacredness of everyone's existence and of all things. One of the also more recent teachers that I've listened to in the past was a man named Rama Maharishi, who was a well-known Indian sage in the 20th century. And he used to say the whole point of yoga and all practices is to ask the essential question of who am I? Who am I? Who is this person who's having this experience? When we're breathing in, we say, yes, I know I'm breathing in. But Venerable Nakagaki said, let's concentrate on your breath, right? Who is it that is concentrating on the breath? What is it being experienced in the body? What is it? Who is hearing? And when does hearing occur? These are all things that people who are Buddhist practitioners of different meditation genres will know that they experience and do well. So my point about yoga and Buddhism is that, whichever path you start to work from, whatever avenue, Buddhism, we frequently think of it as a settled meditative practice. It really still goes to the outer way as well, because you still have to understand your body. You still have to understand the energies, and also have to understand, what is it that I'm hearing? Who is hearing? Why am I attached? All those things. What does it mean to have an ego and to let go of the ego? What does it mean to transition, my term for death? Who was I as a human being, and why am I alive? So I think yoga is at its core a great gateway into understanding the universe. Yoga means, if I remember correctly, union or yoke. What are we being yoked to? These are good questions, right? And who is the one that it's being yoked? And so I think that Buddhism begins with that type of questioning of oneself and one's life and one's environment. And I think the more you practice Buddhism, wherever you start from, they say 80,000 Dharma teachers, wherever you start, you begin to realize that everything in life is sacred. That I hear the birds behind me right now, that the sound they're emitting is sacred. One of the Dharma teachers, one of the venerables from Japan said, the bird is saying, I love you. I love you in a very recent thing. And if we can have that kind of understanding that whenever anybody else is interacting with us, they are telling us, whether they may be seeming hostile or otherwise, they are saying in some way the universe needs you, you're loved. We call the four immeasurable minds, right? Compassion, loving kindness, joy, and impartiality. That somehow the universe is holding you in her hands or his hands and is taking care of you. Then I think there's a great similarity and a very great allusion between Buddhism and yoga. And some of the speakers on here and I have talked about it before. So really that's building on what Bhante and Venerable had said before, with whether regards to asanas or things like that. I think the truth is the Buddha did all those things. That was part of his path. That was a part of his awakening under the Bodhi tree. He had all of that encapsulated, all those practices and all that understanding. So with that as the backdrop, that's really what my brief comments are, that the beauty of yoga is that it leads to liberation, just like the Buddhist path is trying to lead us to liberation. And we're all movements in the one great life of love and compassion. Thank you.
Hi, James. Thank you so much for your sharing your experience, as well as I didn't know you have a yoga class in your temple, and so which is a nicely friendly, the relation that we all have, and so I'm very glad to hear all those, and also we'll continue, and then without much of the comments from me, but so next we have the Venerable Rifa. Actually, one of the reasons I wanted to ask him is I know he demonstrated me before, or the yoga posture. So actually, about this time is a nice day in a park. So I thought maybe I should share with it before even I introduce any of the parts. But so let me share his yoga style, and it's a couple minutes, but I think you feel a little energy there, and then I just turn it on the also the sound, so people moving around, but then he's continue for yoga, and then all the birds sing and everything you can hear. So since today's a nice day, as if you're in outside, you're watching, and you can maybe do it together with the Veron Rifa to begin with. So I hope that will be okay. So let me share the video. I actually I videotape when he came to help us for the census actually last year, and so during this nice day time, and so that's the what that I have. So I don't think even Veron Rifa seen this one before, so. You,
Actually,
you,
it's fun.
you will enjoy this things, okay? Let me see. Okay, here we go. So you're watching Veron Rifa doing a Tai Chi.
Oh,
That's a good one.
Oh, yeah,
that's Chinese yoga.
Yeah, Tai Chi.
yeah, it's like yeah, in a way. So after I saw this one, I have to invite him this one. So anyway, about no, Veron Rifa, she is the abbot of the Peaceful Enlightenment. It's in Brooklyn, New York, and he is vice president of the Buddhist Council of New York and a former president of the American Buddhist Confederation. And I believe he's a Tai Chi master from this sense. He does every day, I believe. So, Veron Rifa.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Can you hear?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Let's just see you. Everybody see the video that TK took in last year, right? Last year in the park, in Sunset Park. Actually, I practiced that Tai Chi every day. Today's topic is the Buddhism and yoga. According to the history of Buddhism, before the Buddha become enlightenment, on my way to see the history. Before Buddha become enlightenment, become a Buddha, he was practicing yoga. And according to the history, it is meditate and then getting enlightenment under the Buddha tree. And so we cannot separate yoga and Buddhism. That's before the master says they are now separate. But like nowadays, there are many practitioners in yoga, but mostly they are just practiced in the body part. We practice in Buddhism, like we meditation, we use the yoga, the path of practice. But we are more use our Buddhist, the wisdom of the Buddha to get the way, to get the enlightenment. Like just James said before, who am I? We breathe in, breathe out. Who is breathe in? Who understand breathe? When we get the solution of who am I? You know who am I? That's the way of the Buddha getting enlightenment. When you get the solution of who am I, what I'm doing, that's the Buddhism, whole Buddhism, that means Buddhism who like getting enlightenment, getting awakeness, awakened one. So that's, in my opinion, in my way of view, that's different in Buddhist practice and yoga practice. We in history, in Buddhist, in Chinese Buddhism history, we say there are many contexts in between Buddhism and yoga, because almost every teaching of Buddhism, when Buddhism transferred to China, is begin at century of the first century, like 67 the year of first century. And that time, yoga with Buddhism come to China, and every teaching in Chinese Buddhism, there are many teachings in Chinese Buddhism, every many styles. Most of them practicing in meditation. The meditation is the main practice of all teaching of Buddhism in China, in Chinese Buddhism. So we cannot separate the yoga and Buddhism. Even in Chinese Buddhism today, there are many means, many names in sutras, like in one of the most important teachings, they also called yoga system. Yoga system. I don't know the words, the yoga in Buddhism and the yoga in Sanskrit is different or same meaning. but there is many words, many names of the sutra, and one of the important teachings that one was in 7th century, the Tang dynasty, the most famous monk Xuanzang went to India to practice. That teaching he brought back to China and developed the teaching. That teaching was called the practice of yoga in Buddhism. So after that, the more Chinese Chan Buddhism also practice meditation. The meditation practice the body, the movement is also like the yoga. Like my practice Tai Chi in the video that TK took, that's one of practice to develop the body systems to get better to meditate. So there are many practices include yoga in Buddhism, even in today's Chinese Buddhism. So when we say yoga and Buddhism, many Buddhisms, sometimes they don't know what yoga practice, but in the way, the beginning, we are practicing meditation. We are practice the movement of the parts of yoga's practice systems. So even we have the like fingerprints, like this one, like Buddha's finger. In that also in yoga we can find that in ancient Indian. So we have many things from the yoga, the beginning. So in Chinese Buddhism, we also practice include the yoga practicing. So that's what I'm today's my view that Buddhism and yoga cannot separate. Thank you. May everybody get good health and get resolve the suffering from the COVID-19. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Xie Veronica.
Thank you.
And so, yeah, so the time is running, so I just skip to, but then the next Swamini, the way that I always call, but then of course the real title, Sadiviji Sri Lalitambika Devi serves through Mahakai Lasa Ashram and the World Peace Shrine USA. She is the author of translation of several scriptures, including the Bhagavad Gita, and also edits the journals of the Ganga Review. Day to day, she serves as a hospital chaplain and in women's shelter. The name is Larilamba Saranam. So, Swamini.
Thank you, Venerable TK and Dileepji, for organizing this and for bringing us all together. And this meeting is yoga, right? Yoga, as James mentioned, is union. Yoga, the true deep meaning of yoga is enlightenment. And that is common to all of our traditions, samadhi, satori, nirvana, right? And this enlightenment, this yoga, this awakening that the Buddha experienced begins with a foundation of virtue. And these virtues that we talk about are really common to the Hindu tradition, the Vedic tradition, and the Buddhist tradition. I think there's quite a good bit of overlap, at least I hope there is, right? I don't think any religion in the world advocates, stealing or killing or anything like this. So we have this foundation of right living that is common to our traditions. And in the yoga tradition, we have Patanjali, who laid this out as the yamas and the niyamas, which have been mentioned briefly, but luckily, luckily not so much that I can't go into them a little bit more. So these yamas and niyamas, they're like the foundation of our awakening, right? They are like the cushion upon which we sit to meditate. But the beautiful thing is that, and again, through the blessing of being able to participate with the Buddhist Sangha, and this is something else that we share, the traditions share, meditation, awakening is not the end of our practice, right? As we awaken, then we are able to express this, right? Call it engaged Buddhism, right? Or right living. As we awaken, then we are able to share these blessings in the world for the sake of awakening of all beings. So it's almost like a very interesting circle of eternity, right? We practice these virtues, these precepts to prepare for our meditation, right? We're living a right life. When we sit, we have a calm mind, and it's easier then to settle into our meditation and awaken. And then we come through this, and our awakening informs then our action in this world, what we can do to serve others in their awakening. So I'll touch briefly on the yamas and niyamas, which again are, I believe, very similar to the Buddhist precepts. We start with ahimsa, which is non-harming, and this is really the foundation of all other virtues, right? It's a good litmus test for any action. Will it cause harm? Now, the thing is, if we look into the Bhagavad Gita, there is a line, a shloka, a verse that acknowledges, well, we are human beings. We are not perfect, right? What we do, hard as much as we try, we may make mistakes. It said, if you think, even walking across the grass, we might be stepping on something small and crawling, right? And cause harm without even knowing it. There are Jain monks, right, who wear the mask. Well, now we all wear the masks, right? But before this, they wore the mask so that they would not breathe in or cause harm to anything flying in the air, any little bugs or anything like this. But so it's acknowledged that there may be things we do without even realizing. And Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita tells us, look, where there is fire, where there is action in the world, there's going to be smoke. There may be harm that we don't realize or even intend. And so he says the best thing to do about this is to make sure that we are offering every action, right? I think James was talking about the sacred, right? To acknowledge the sacred and to just offer everything to the sacred within us, within others, right? For the sake of awakening. And just to mention some of the other precepts of the yogic tradition, right? Not to steal, right? Call it brahmacharya or continence. And this is to turn the life force, the prana, towards truth, right? Not to waste it in one night, so to speak, right? Again, not to cause harm, right? And this may involve complete celibacy, as many of us have vowed to. It may involve awakening through a union that is so pure and complete that it just becomes a pure love, and that can be awakening. So each person has his or her own practice of this brahmacharya, right? But it's turning the life force towards awakening, really. What else? Not hoarding, sharing of our good fortune, being generous, telling the truth, right? All good things. So these are sort of the external virtues. They have to do with action. And then we have the inner virtues that are less apparent externally in our actions, but have to do with the mind. And that begins with cleanliness, saucha, which can be of the body. It begins with the body, but it's also of the mind, right? To clear the mind of any kind of negative thinking. And there's a verse by actually Sufi master Hafiz that I love, and it says, blame is what keeps the sad game going. It's like taking all of your wealth, probably in this case, wealth is meant our virtue, our life force, like taking all of your wealth and giving it to a madman. Dear one, wise up. This is to say, if something's not going our way, right? There's no need to, we want to point the finger, right? Point the finger, but there's nothing to point at, right? We understand karma, the law of action and reaction in action, that we create our own reality in a sense. But this is not even to point the finger at ourselves. Everything that happens is simply a learning experience, right? And so we realize through this cleanliness of mind, contentment, contented spirit. And some of you know that in addition to being Hindu and taken some, had the blessing to take some Buddhist vows as well, that I'm also Catholic. So I was speaking the other day with a Catholic priest, and he was speaking of Mother Teresa, who has now been sanctified as a saint. And he quoted her as saying, she was speaking of Jesus, accept whatever he gives, accept whatever is given in life, and give whatever is taken with a big smile, right? This is Mother Teresa, everything with a big smile. And really this is the smile of contentment, right? I think in our meditation practice, be it Buddhist or Hindu, maybe we have a gentle smile on our face, right? It can also be a mantra in life, the gentle smile, right? Practicing of contentment. Discipline, we all share, we all know. And surrender, study, of course we share that. But surrender, right? Surrender to what? Ishvara pranidhana, surrender to truth. Surrender of the limited personal self that is full of desires and I want this, I don't want that. Surrender of all that to the clear light mind, to truth, to an absolute presence, existence, Sat Chit Ananda. And the Yoga Sutras tell us, Ishvara Pranidhana Va, right? This means that surrender will absolutely, certainly bring enlightenment. And this is our yoga, right? This is our yoga. We live a right life to realize this enlightenment that we may then serve as an instrument of enlightenment for others. Om Namah Shivaya, gratitude. Thank you. I've so enjoyed everybody's talks. It's just very inspiring to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Satiji, Sri Lalitambika Deviji. I'm looking for TK. Something happened to him. TK, please unmute. Yeah.
Okay, I got okay, finally. No, thank you so much again. So the last speaker, I mean, or maybe I'll be later on, but possibly the Lama Pema Wandak. I hope he's in now.
Yeah,
and so he's from the Vajrayana tradition, so he'll be sharing his thoughts on this Buddhism and yoga. And then actually I mentioned, actually one of the part that I lost some of the what do you call it, computer, I realized I lost his part of the background that I wrote. But anyway, I have known the Rampena for a long time, and he's been helping for the Buddhist Council used to be, and also he's a founder of Bikram Masila, I guess, the foundation. I'm sorry if my pronunciation is wrong, but he's been very active in a Sakya lineage of the Tibetan Buddhism. And if you don't mind, Kempo, Pema Wandak, if you can add anything what you like to say about yourself, because I just couldn't do it. And then, yeah, floor is yours. So thank you so much for joining. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Thank you for saying less. I like that. Little less waste of time. How many minutes I have? How many minutes I have to speak?
Oh, about 7 to 10 minutes.
Okay. So, good morning, everyone. I want to thank you, Reverend Nagagaki, and organizer. And I also like to express my joy meeting all the holy people and spiritual people here together talking about this particular topic called yoga. And I will say a few words, put my pitch on that. I'm a Tibetan and Tibetan Buddhist, born Tibetan. My Buddhist faith is by a default faith, meaning I'm born into it, like many of us in most religion. And through teachings of the Buddha, somehow Tibetan people found among so many countless of ideas, spiritual beliefs, faiths, rites, and rituals, hundreds of thousands of years of whatever people of India invested from the best to the worst. We found Buddhism. So we must be a good shopper. We must, I think our leaders have a good sense of shopping. In the supermarket of spiritual world in India, we call Arya Desh, the land of the exalted one. I grew up in India, so my food habit is Indian, and my mind is Buddhist and Tibetan combined. My philosophy is the teachings, my faith is in the teachings of the Buddha and his Dharma and his Sangha. And talking about, let's quickly go to the yoga, which I like to first show the word yoga just for fun of it. Oh, I need to have co-hosting power. If you could do that.
Let me find your name.
Okay, it's called Lama Pema Wangda.
Oh, here. Okay.
Found it?
Yeah, try it.
Can you found it?
Okay,
Oh,
I got it.
oh, you got it. Oh, okay, good.
Just for fun of it, just I want to show the word, not much to show. Okay, you can see the top one. For those of you, probably everybody knows the Devanagari script, which says yoga, and in English we say yoga. We don't know how to pronounce it. It should be pronounced yoga. And Tibetan translated that into Naljor. And we'll start with the Tibetan why in the world. We translate the word Naljor. And for the yogi, we call Nenjor Pa. And then in English, everybody knows yoga. So we have English, kind of anglicized Indian word, yoga. So if you say yoga, Sanskrit master will laugh at you. Because we are a little bit trained. I went to Sanskrit University in India, in Benares, 9 years of education there in the Indic and Buddhist, Tibetan Buddhist studies and philosophies. the word yoga, Tibetan master translated, not literally interpreted, is as the mastery of the mind. That is what it says. And the yoga that we know of in the West, everybody's interested in yoga, is the part and parcel that only relates to essentially with the physical aspect of the yoga. Where the actual yoga, I should not say actual, I should maybe too presumptuous, but the overall meaning of the yoga is to yoke, to put together things in an organic way. Is that if you want to create a green color, you have to put just the right amount of yellow and blue, and then there will be magically a green color. So if you want to be happy, then you can imagine there are those components from ethics to wisdom to compassion to self or selfless, whatever it is that needs to be combined to create just about that particular state of the mind or peace of mind or selfless, or et cetera, et cetera. So much so that just for the fun of it, I like to say, if you want to be miserable, then we can put so many of those things that causes and condition that misery. But the problem here is we are mishmash. Even the so-called mindful training, I notice that the greatest number who are interested in the mindful training are the business people. That tells you that something is misinformed by the teacher or misheard by the listener. And the same thing with the yogas. So as a follower, since I don't want to add anything because everybody, you all are leaders and teachers, I don't want to presume, but I think there are issues we may want to kind of distinguish or discern how it is understood. And one of them is, I think we are fragmenting the teachings of Buddha or any other teachings, Buddha for that matter. Any religious leader's teaching is then approached and taken in pieces, bits and pieces, and then presented and then looks for as that is the source of everything, and there is a solution for the things. And that is the answer for the problem that you and we all are having going through. So the main message to the yoga, I would say, is to how to be inclusive, the sum totality. And the basic number would be body and mind, and plus the speech. Okay. My 7 minutes is gone, so I will take 3 more minutes. if you don't mind that. Hold on 1 second. So I think for all of us as the leaders and the followers of our faith and the leaders among the community is how do we go back to the original meaning and to the best of our abilities to bring, of course, within the certain set disciplines that is supposed to work. According to the Buddhists, that's what Buddha taught, from Shila, the ethics, to the wisdoms, to the things like patience, generosity, things like endurance, things like, in other words, we need to sort of put together just the right amount of the bodily effort, the mental, put together, even if we want to kind of induce the enlightenment, so to speak. We don't use the word induce, but just for the sake of conversation, in order to provoke our inner quality, we still need to put the right amount of effort and things together. And that whole process done in this precision that creates a perfect amount of end result, like growing a fruit or grass or grain or corn. There is a precision, like green color. Our peace, our happiness, our physical health, and everything all the way to the enlightenment, to the level of perfection we call middle way, that we go through towards, so much so that it has to be comprehensive, not fragmental. It has to be just the right thing called right path. And those are the things we as leader, the teachers, or the ones who are trying to introduce our faith to other, if we can be inclusive of the body, speech, and mind. And those that takes in the form, especially in the Tibetan Vajrayana practice, and that takes in the form of not just bodily posture. We can call it 8 yogas or 10 yogas, meaning from the moment you wake up until you go to sleep, until you wake up next day. Some totality is included, physical, mental, such as sleeping yoga, eating yoga, bathing yoga, recitation yoga, mantra recitation yoga, visualizations, and the physical we call tulkur, yantras, and so on. So, but basically all, if we did the best of what Buddha taught is best understood, more likely to be understood if we put all together in an organic, in a just the right relative way, in the interconnected way. That probably is the best way to understand. So I will stop here. Thank you very much. It's not time to take more time.
Yeah, thank you, Pema, Lama Pema Wandak, and so the Kempo, sorry, and yeah, appreciate very much for sharing the wonderful thoughts. And yeah, when I talked to you, you said the Buddhism is, I mean, yoga is everything for the Buddhism. So that was something for me is a very, I mean, Tibetan Buddhism. So, and so I'll just present a little bit, very short view, because since everybody cover basic parts of the yogi and Buddhism, I mean, yoga and Buddhism, the one thing maybe for my tradition, myself is, again, TK Nakagaki. I'm the Pure Land tradition of Buddhism. So I follow the Amitabha practice, and I'm from Japan, so Japanese. In specifically, I practice Jodo Shinshu, the Pure Land Buddhism of Shin Buddhist, sometimes translated, and so it's basically the focus on Amida, the compassion of the Buddha, but then also the part of the history that we have is, you know, all the traditional Buddhism follow some of the masters, and also like some of the important sutras or the teachings or discourse of the Buddha. And so part of the Pure Land Buddhism, we do have 7 masters from the, you know, 2 from India, like Nagarjuna and Vasubandhu, and again, the China, other 3 and so forth. But then those 2 are very, very important from the India master. And then Donran, I don't know how you pronounce in Chinese nicely, so maybe I should just keep it in Japanese. Donran and Doshaku and Zendo, those 3 Chinese master that we have. And then for 2 from Japan, like Honen and Genshin and Honen. So those 2 are the like masters for our part of the tradition. And then we based upon 3 the sutras, as I said. But one of the person, Vasubandhu from India, is known as the Yogacara Buddhism, and so which is more like a translated as a, of course, the literal translation is a different meaning, but like a practitioner of the yoga, I believe, Yogacara. But then known as the, you know, consciousness only, the perceptions, how we perceive everything, and so. One of the, you know, of course, the Vasubandhu, or also the Maitreya and Asanga, Vasubandhu are kind of well known for this part of the Buddhism, how you perceive. And then so, but it is really based upon the kind of experience of the yoga. And so from that aspect is something connected to the deeply for us. So if I think the word yoga came out to my mind is firstly this Vasubandhu's Yogacara Buddhism, and so that consciousness only, and then but actually one of the interpretation of the saying the name, actually we just, I mean, my school of Buddhism saying a lot of name of the Amitabha, Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha, you know, Amitabha. So so this is kind of one of the kind of philosophical background of Amitabha. The chanting itself is kind of deeply connected to the Basbandhu, and also the one that's the the book is called actually the Ubatai Ganshoge. That's I don't know, the treatise on the Pure Land is okay, I guess. Pure Land. So it's part of the, for me, I think it's always important to have the balance of the body and mind. And then as many people talk about, that particular parts of the yoga is very wonderful. And then I also understand during the time of the Buddha, or also I guess the raising of the Jainism. So during that time, of course, both are all, the Indian person, and but at the same time, as I understand, especially the part of the yoga original way, well, not the original, but the way that focusing on the meditation part is especially developed in Buddhism, I believe, when the Buddha was meditating and so forth, the way that I understood also. So there's a relation between, the deep relation between yoga and then the Buddhist as well. And so for the Pure Land, so from the Basbandhu, we have a close relation. And then one thing for the part of the practice we do is basically saying the name. Everything is try to focus on one thing. So in a Japanese tradition, there is a different part of it. The especially Kamakura period. Zen tradition just focus on the sitting only. The Pure Land tradition, we focus on the saying the name of the Buddha, Amitabha only. And then the I guess the Nichiren tradition, they focus on Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, saying that the particular sutra only. So, but one of the things is sometimes people have a difficult time to concentrate on many things, so just focus on one thing. And so that's actually how my part of the Buddhist tradition developed. So the saying the name, anybody can say the name, so it's in a way no exclusion or inclusive for everyone. And so that sense of unity through the name or through the vow of the Buddha is one of the practice that we do. But anyway, I just wanted to cut my short. but so at least I just wanted to add some of the explanation from the Pure Land Buddhism. So that's the intention that I have this time. So and then Guruji, thank you so much for the opportunity. And then we have a question answer.
Yeah. TK, can you do a prayer?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So then okay, then join me the meditation. I'll just do the dedication merits part. May all living beings be happy, well, and peaceful. May we all be free from suffering. May we all be free from pain. May we all be free from attachment, from greed, anger, and ignorance. May we all attain ultimate happiness and peace of enlightenment through the guidance of Buddha's wisdom and compassion.
So now I'm going to put all the speakers on spotlight on my screen. You may not see it. I'm going to record. So please keep your video on, so that way recording will be good. One day. Lama. Lynch. Rafa left, right?
Rifa.
Rifa left, I think. Yeah. So I want to make a comment because Buddha is from a Hindu family, and Lumbini is a place he born. There is a border of India and Nepal. So we believe Buddha is one of the incarnation, and Buddhism is the fulfillment of Hinduism. And we are from the same family. We cannot separate. We may have different tradition to practice, different way of practicing, but actually we are from same family. So some people ask me why you are putting yoga and Christianity, yoga and Islam, yoga and Buddhism like different types of event. Actually, we all are born on this earth as a divine chosen being for a purpose. So we cannot separate. When you move your hands and legs, that is part of the asanas. When you meditate, that's a meditation in all the practices. When you chant any mantras, that's also helping us. The basic need we need expand our consciousness, expand our energy, nothing else. So all the teachers came to this earth to reiterate us what to do in our life or how you reach to the point of enlightenment. That's the way it is. So we have duty to bring people together to elevate people's knowledge, support them, and make sure we don't need any conflict between any religions or any cultures. That's our purpose. Yogis believe beyond any religions or any cultures. You see how we made the World Yoga Community. Word itself is for everybody. We brought the yoga to the United Nations for this purpose. Otherwise, we won't do that. Yeah. So now, 177 countries supported us to have the International Day of Yoga at the UN. Now we are putting teachers across the globe. We are promoting all of them because this is a way we'll bring peace and harmony. And I know all of you are wonderful people in the public. You do practice and you teach and you live it. That's why you are here to speak. Yeah. So we have more duties to do it. I think in coming years, we have to promote more this type of events. By 2030, we have to bring maximum effect of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations through our activities. We don't want to look for all the political leaders doing all the work because they don't have time for it. They have other agendas. But we have duties and time to put even 1 hour in a day for a community service. That itself will make a big change. Through our friendship and harmony, will make a difference in the world. I hope you enjoy the program. I'm going to open the floor for all other people to ask questions. And this is a healthy way of discussion group. Please make sure do not insult any religious groups or cultures. Here to discuss in a harmonious way. Okay. Who is asking the question first? Dr. Vinarma Sharma.
Guruji, namaste. Namaste, all the dignitaries present here. I was joined just late to some academic assignments, but I have listened then Lama, Pima, Sir. So, Guruji, it's very wonderful that we are able to understand that each and every corner of the words about the view of their spirituality. And we meet at the point that we have similarities in our understanding of that knowledge, whatever we have learned. So, thank you, Guruji. Please proceed. Thank you so much.
For all the speakers' information, Dr. Vinarma Sharma is from the Amity University. We have 11 students are attending our program for 30 days. They get credit for their final year BSc in yoga. And I want to mention Rafa made a beautiful point that one of the monk came to India and learned yoga and went back to China and promoted. And same way we have one of the person went to China from Kerala and taught the martial arts called Kalaripait. That's the mother of all the martial arts. So you see, earlier they don't have this type of unnecessary political dogmas or divisions. Sometimes I don't want to talk about certain issues between countries because it will make more problems. We used to have some monks from Tibetan community, especially from Dalai Lama's group. And when we are part of the UN, sometimes we get troubles from some nations. Oh, we don't want these people. For us personally, I like everybody to come together. And we accommodate everyone. So if you feel something like that, I'll say sorry because some political drama going on. Gabriel? He's not there. I invite. Okay, he's here. Any questions or comments? Gabriel.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Okay, I saw Swami Yadi Dharmananda from Himalayas.
Namaste. I don't have a question, but I'm very excited to narrate a very interesting coincidence that has happened.
Yeah.
So until 19th of this month, I was in the Himalayas, in the mountains on the banks of Holy River Ganga. Suddenly something came up and you cannot believe where I am sitting now. And if I go off to my roof and what I can see, it's going to, so give me some time. So all of you know the story of Buddhism, the story of Ashoka.
Right.
So I'm sitting right next to the place where Ashoka was transformed from a terrible warrior to a wonderful emissary of Buddhism. So I cannot believe this coincidence. And I was having difficulties in the internet, so I couldn't join. And I could join today somehow. And the subject is Buddhism and yoga. And I'm sitting right next to the Dhauli Santi Stupa. So, I would like to, I'm from Orissa. I'm born here. Orissa was called Kalinga. So when Ashoka attacked Kalinga, so it was a bloody war. There's a river which I can see from here. If I go out, that entire river was filled with blood. And the ferocious soldiers of Ashoka killed all the soldiers of Kalinga. But Kalinga was very, they had a lot of pride. So when all the soldiers were killed, so the women and the children and the old people came with sticks, and the emperor's captains, they said, what is happening? So then the emperor said, hey, go and ask them why they are here. So the emissary went and asked the elders, old people, why are you here? They said, well, your army has slaughtered all the people, all our forces. So now we are left behind. And when this news was given to Emperor Ashoka, that created a lot of impact on him, that he has killed almost all the youth of a civilization. And then he was sitting on a hillock and he could see the river, which is totally filled with blood. And that was his moment of transformation. And it happened right here. Mm-hmm. And then Ashoka, they say Chanda Ashoka became Dharma Ashoka. This is what in Oriya language, in our language, it is said that Chanda Ashoka becomes Dharma Ashoka. The one who was ferocious suddenly transformed with the teachings of the most compassionate incarnation, Lord Buddha. And then you know what happened. I mean, Ashoka was responsible for the spread of Buddhism towards, I think, in the whole. I'm not a historian. I shouldn't say much because I have great Lama and great emissaries of Buddhism here. Sutadhara is here, Nagakaki is here, Sadhviji is here. But I was just overwhelmed with this divine coincidence of today. It was, I don't know how it happened. I mean, it was not meant to happen. I didn't have internet. Suddenly internet comes today. Yesterday I couldn't sign in. Today I'm signing in, and I'm sitting right next to Dhauli Stupa. So if those who know a little bit about Dhauli Stupa, I need to read because I don't want to pronounce wrong. So this stupa was built by the Japan Buddha Sangha and the Kalinga Nippon Buddha Sangha in 1972. It was constructed by the chief priest of Nippon Zen Myohoji, who came to India in 1930 from Mount Minabu. This is the history that is mentioned. So this is called Dhauli Santi Stupa. You could look it up on the internet if you have not come across it. And so I just wanted to greet you from the place where it all began. So I wish that Lord Buddha's teachings inspire us, and I wish all of you great ones continue to do your good work to spread the wonderful teachings of Lord Buddha. And I would take few more minutes to narrate my favorite story that I heard from my guru, Swami Chidananji, who was a disciple of Swami Shivananda, and which impacted a lot. And in fact, the stories could be one of the reasons of me, opting to become a monk, and ultimately it happened. So I would just, this comes from the article by Swami Shivananda from his Lives of Saints book on Lord Buddha. So the story goes like this. Once Buddha went to the house of a rich Brahmin with a bowl in his hand. The Brahmin became very angry and said, "O Bhikshu, why do you lead an idle life of wandering and begging? Is this not disgraceful? You have a well-built body. You can work. I plow and sow. I work in the fields and I earn my bread at the sweat of my brow. I lead a laborious life. It would be better if you also plow and sow, and then you will have plenty of food to eat." So the Venerable Buddha replied, "O Brahmin, I also plow and sow, and having plowed and sown, I eat." The Brahmin said, "You say you are an agriculturist? I do not see any sign of it. Where are your plow? Where are your bullocks and seeds?" The Buddha replied, "O Brahmin, just hear my words with attention. I sow the seed of faith. The good actions that I perform are the rain that waters the seeds. Viveka and Vairagya are parts of my plow. Righteousness is the handle. Meditation is the gourd. Sama and Dhamma, tranquility of the mind and restraint of the Indriyas, senses, are the bullocks. Thus I plow the soil of the mind and remove the weeds of doubt, delusion, fear, birth, and death. The harvest that comes in the immortal fruit of nirvana. All sorrows terminate by this sort of plowing and harvesting." The rich, arrogant Brahmin came to his senses. His eyes were opened. He prostrated at the feet of Buddha and became his lay adherent. Thank you very much. My prayers and my good wishes to all of you venerable ones. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. T.P. Shashimarji.
Oh, before that, I can just say that Venerable has to leave a little earlier because of that little another appointment. So,
Okay.
so he wanted to say thank you for inviting him, and so.
Okay. Dr. T.P.
Namaskaram, pranams, salutations to all the great speakers. I was really taken to understand different aspects, different panoramic views you described. Just now we heard a story. I thought in the forests in the Vedic India, people gathered around teachers who instructed them the path of liberation, and that was called yoga, or meaning union. I think somewhere in between BC 560 to 480, yeah, during that time, someone did the same, and he was called Buddha. We named the process of union probably because Patanjali Muni, the Rishi Patanjali, framed it in a network called Yoga Shastra. If that was not there, probably we would have taken all the lessons from Buddha himself. That's how I look at the practical yoga. One difference could be that samadhi was not what was Buddha's meditation process. It was a yogic practice where beyond the fluctuations of mind, the thoughts are focused to realize oneness of being, which probably would have, we all would have inherited that word called emptiness, which was coined by Buddha. We called it as absolute self, or yoga practice called it as absolute self, but emptiness could have been the best word. But once emptiness comes, we don't know whether we exist to get into our samadhi. So it's one of the highest realization. I was so glad that Ramana Maharshi is understanding who am I, you know. If I am not there, I don't have emptiness to see. If I am not there, I don't have a salvation. If I am not there, I don't have an absolute self. So that is where probably the conflict of thoughts, because interpretation by different yogis would have been different. Therefore, comparison by small people like us, we understand it because we are looking at the bigger elephant from different side. The teaching of Buddhism and yoga of Patanjali, if you want to call it like that, the teachings of Buddha and the yoga of Patanjali or Yoga Sutra, all of them talks only one thing, that is ahimsa. That's what just now mentioned by Yadi. He clearly spelt it. It is non-harming and do all the karma. What is the ultimate goal? Ultimate goal is experience happiness and peace. I think that way there is no difference between Patanjali's Yoga Sutra and the teachings of Buddha. The Buddha's teaching sometimes looked upon the great visions of yoga. That is why the physical yoga was not part of it. It was looking at practical discipline and noble path for liberation, which is maybe the highest of the highest. The Buddha himself was a high yogic man. Otherwise, you don't sit in that posture asana, and with full pranayama, probably he got into that meditative freeness. The structure itself, we don't have a picture of Patanjali, unfortunately. We have only artistic pictures. But if somebody wanted to put the meditation hall, I'm sure that is why most of my Guru Swami Rama was a core person who always keep on talking about the Buddha. Without the Buddha, no lecture, no meditation, no classes went on. So I know my tradition is more Buddhist tradition than Patanjali tradition. So not of asanas, not even pranayama. It's only understanding the yoga. But what happened today, we are talking in terms of the International Yoga Festival, the yoga studios, perceived in being focused only on the body. And the meditation centers emphasize study of the mind. There, the mind is forgotten. You don't have a mind at all. But here we study mind. So we focus on mind. The other one is get rid of the mind. These are all the two different aspects. No? So walk into the most, somebody mentioned, no, the most commercial yoga studios where it is being sold. I think Lama mentioned it, right? So we just sell it. The traditional Buddhist temple will have the difficulty in discern this relationship between the two. I'm 100% sure, because it's not the practice of commercializing. This was never part of any temple or any Buddhist tradition. We have different yoga, maybe the Tibetan yoga, which talks about something Zen, different aspects. One probable, the Advaita Vedanta, somebody mentioned the Advaita Vedanta, in which the consciousness and the Purusha, the ultimate Purusha, the yoga philosophy talks about the foundations of ultimate goal of yoga is to get into that Purusha, the Atman. But probably Buddhist is not to reach into something, but it is to get rid of everything. So therefore you may find a conflict sometime, but it is not a conflict. Understanding that the universe Purusha is the Purusha. If that is a big fire, each one of us have the fire sparks out of that. Probably the spulingams of that, you know. If you consider that, it is liberation. It is not looking at one. One beautiful explanation of kosha, different layers of the subtle body, which both yoga and Buddhism matches together. And we all believe that it all comes from the Panchabhutas. So what Yoga Sutra talks about this is exactly what Buddhism also talks about. So I'm 100% able to understand the matching, and the differences came because of the misunderstanding probably if somebody has. The Hindu yoga and the Buddhist teachings, I think we should not use such words. I think there is nothing called a Hindu yoga and a Buddhist teaching or practices. It comes from the same root. Maybe the branches could be different. The flowers and leaf can be different. They all existed historically from the same field where it was nourished. The cultural background is same. But when the Zen Buddhism, those who learned through activities, more focused on the inner self, the ability to understand the mind's eye with the universal, essentially that is where Buddhism and Zen Buddhism would have been slightly different, because you are looking at visualizing something, breathing into something, understanding that. Therefore, sometimes you find Zen Buddhism is more closer to the Vedantic philosophy. So it all comes from, again, the Tibetan Buddhism or Zen Buddhism. Meditation remains same. The yogic practice remains same. The fluctuations of the mind, the process is to make you bind to that being, which whether it is Atma or emptiness. I think that's all where it goes different. It was good listening to different aspects. I think this is what I understood, and I wanted to sum it up like this. When Ramana Maharshi also speaks about the Buddha and the self-realization, I think, I'm not very sure, it is the Paravidyopanishad, which is authored by Ramana Maharshi, Paravidya Upanishad. That is where the nirvana of Buddha and the self-realization which the yogis talk about, Ramana Maharshi made a beautiful commentary. If I couldn't refer it now, probably if I refer it, if somebody has to read that, probably I can give some references onto that. The moksha and nirvana are the same in that way. The cyclic life, the death and the rebirth, how you attain, and during the process of life, what is that we have to practice so that we can get moksha or mukti or nirvana. But Buddhist philosophy, exactly same, but it is not the next birth, it is the liberation from this bindness. So the endless cycle of birth and death, how are you looking at it? Is it connectedness or disconnectedness? I was so happy when Lalitama mentioned Bhagavad Gita. The whole concept of Bhagavad Gita is talking about this cyclic birth, so that you clean your action, the karma gets cleaned. And also Lalitama mentioned about Sat Chit Ananda, so that the triple consciousness, Sat Chit Ananda. Sat is existence, Chit is consciousness, Ananda is bliss. How do you get into that when you doesn't exist is a big question. So if you wanted to talk about Sat Chit Ananda, you cannot have emptiness. You should not separate you from the you who is looking at the Sat Chit Ananda. So you are meditating and looking at it. So that is where Ramana Maharshi clearly explains, who am I who is looking at me? Who am I without the time? Without me, how can I look at my Satchidananda? So theoretically, when we talk about it, is entirely different from practically when we reach at Satchidananda. Because it's like we're talking about death. When we talk about death, we are not there. But still,
hello. Can you be mindful of your time also? Can you? I mean, comments
I'm
like a
finished.
couple
I'm
of
finished.
minutes instead.
So that Satchidananda, if you can understand, you reach that as the God and the Brahman. Realization to God becomes so simple. That is what is to be understood. I was so glad listening to all of you, and this is how I wanted to sum it up.
Well, I'm so very exciting about panel, so I'm very grateful that you listen very carefully. Thank you. What's the Simran?
Simran,
Does she want to question? Yes.
Hi, greetings all. What a joy. I feel so joyful. Just, I came late, so I missed a portion, which I'll catch up later. But I don't know why I'm a little emotional, but I had such joy seeing the Tai Chi. I had a teacher, a martial arts teacher, who he would start with Tai Chi, then he would do these stick martial arts, and then we would end with yoga. And I was just reminded, even though I didn't pursue the Tai Chi, deeply, which sometimes I regret because I really enjoyed it, I remember the peace I felt. And I was just so happy to see that, because I find it is absolutely part of that practice of yoga, of just being in the moment and the movement. And anyway, I just wanted to share, it just brought such memories to me. And it's so, it's just so amazing. We live in a world with so many gifts that we can all bring together if we choose to, because we can receive from so many directions. So anyway, I just wanted to thank you, and it's always such a joy to listen to everybody. Blessings.
Thank you. Guruji, do you want me to ask, maybe each speaker can say a few words for a couple minutes?
yes,
for
please.
anything addition or anything you wanted to share the comments? So maybe, can you start from Bante? Yeah.
Please unmute yourself.
Sutadana? Oops. Unmute yourself again. Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you. And I'm delighted to be with all of you and all the speakers and all the commentators. And this is a great event. And well, I'm glad to be here with you. And thanks for inviting me to join you from Western United States. Thank you.
So you're from California, so thank you for joining from California. Okay, great. Anything you okay, is that good? Okay. Then James, you wanted to add anything, or you wanted to say?
No, just very quickly, I was going to say, a couple of things that were said. Thankappan Mawandak said some things that I think are really important. The idea that, we often divide everything up, but it's really an idea of a movement of the life of the universe. And so yoga is part of that realization of our inner and outer self being at one with everything. So I think this is very important so that we don't. My father has dementia. He's coming in right now. I think, come in, Dad.
Okay.
All right, just a second, Dad. No, it's all right. I'll be 1 second. I just was going to say that this is very important. This is real life, right? That's yoga, right? The yoga of talking to my father in a respectful manner, no matter what. The yoga of being present with all of you is very powerful. So I'm very thankful to everyone and thankful for this opportunity to share. That's all. Thank you.
Okay.
And so you'll see my screen go down for that reason.
All right, no problem for your journey. And Viral Reef, as I said, yeah, he's that has to do certain things, lunchtime. So yeah, kind of Buddhist things too. So Samini, if you don't mind, do you have? Yeah. Oh, I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
All right.
Yeah, good.
Okay. I want to thank everybody again. It was really illuminating experience. I appreciate all of the teachings that were shared today. And just thinking, one of the first yoga studios, one of the ways I was introduced to yoga as an adult. My family practiced in the Vedic tradition as a child, but you go to school, nobody else is meditating, you forget, right? So I came back to it as an adult and young adult. And one of the places where I first practiced was Jivamukti, and they talk a lot about ahimsa in terms of the animals as well, and the importance of kindness to all beings, right? The animals, the earth. And so I just want to chime in that there were indeed a few four-leggeds who were present for these teachings. And so the blessings really went all throughout, the different kingdoms and the universe. So thank you to everybody for that.
Right. Lama Pema? Wanda, can you unmute?
Yeah, I can do it. So I'd like to thank you once again, everyone. It's always nice to meet for the first time any individual that you too also exist on the earth like me. Until now, you don't exist in my life. So it's always fun to meet new people. They do exist like me. And I don't have much to add, but mainly I like to see since yoga, mindfulness, meditation is about 40, 50 years of Western history. And you come from the East, and it's the byproduct of probably, I would say, 5, 6, 7,000 years of human mind. I don't think any particular religion added to it, like a food. Who invented food? We will never say that. But yet it has the different qualities. We add to different recipes. I believe, I don't know, I'm not a scholar. The Indian culture, you can call it Vedic because we don't have other words. I think experimented with the mind. As I said earlier, India has the worst culture in the world on the one hand. On the other hand, it has the best culture. It has the best and then the worst, that we have to recognize that. But what it says is that after all the experiments, practices, search, meditation, we come the cream of ideas. And I think the yoga, the concept of yoga and the practice are among that byproduct of millions of thousands and the best of minds like Buddha, So I don't think we can claim a religious thing. It's like a food for the soul. And in fact, spiritual matter is food for the soul, literally, like the food for the body is we eat through the mouth, and food for the soul of the mind is the spiritual matter. And the Dharma, what we call the teachings of the Buddha, really, like earlier somebody quoted the teachings of the Buddha, it really kind of empowers and enrich. And now the idea is that how the yoga is two, we call meditative yoga, and then day-to-day yoga, we call post-meditative yoga, meaning that some totality has to be included as part of the yoga practice. So I think what I like to encourage all of you is to, as the teacher, as the one who pursued, is trying to how can we promote the teaching, so the spiritual matter, especially yoga or mindfulness, so they are not fragmented. And I'm pretty sure some gangsters are meditating for the peace of mind so they can rob next bank. Is that right?
Yeah.
So you can imagine. So we have to
That could be.
keep careful about that.
Yeah. They
And
even
I'm
pray.
sure they're doing yoga far better than I do. And I hardly do yoga, except nice half a day of walking, do some prestation. So we have to be extremely careful that these are not understood in piecemeals and has to have understood in an organic way. I just want to add once again about that. Thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. So I just wanted to say a few words also. So I guess thank you for all the speakers, first of all. I appreciate very much for joining us in spite of your busy schedule. And so I'm very grateful that you're willing to speak to us. And I know the people who share the thoughts, everything. And for myself, I think one thing is, there's a Judeo-Christian tradition. So maybe we should have a little more conversation with the so-called Dharmic tradition. So like, at least Hindu, Buddhist, and Jains. Yeah, so we will be able to have some more conversation like this. It will be wonderful things to do, I believe. And so, and then maybe we can just share some of the concern that we have from the perspective of Dharmic tradition and to the Western traditions. I mean, the Judeo-Christian tradition or something like that. That'll be also kind of an interesting way, because it's always interface itself. Tradition is starting from the other side of the Christian side of it, but yet maybe interface the Dharmic tradition should be also presenting somehow, so that we could have another learning each other and then developing each other in a better way of the way of living that we have. So that's what I felt. So it was nice that we never really have. I never really have, I guess. Well, maybe I had, but anyway. So this kind of conversation. So it was very wonderful. So thank you so much for opportunity. Okay.
So.
Bruce, you wanted to conclude the very end, or do you want me to play the song first?
Just give 10 minutes extra, okay?
Shall we do that songs now?
Just wait 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm glad Samini mentioned about Satchidananda, and TP Shashikumar also mentioned about Satchidananda. Actually, we are a spiritual being, like to reach to the Satchidananda state of absolute bliss. So I'll sing a bhajan. That's one of the popular bhajan from India. I have another person sitting here, one of our board trustees is going to play cymbal with me. Satchidananda Guru Satchidananda, Satchidananda Guru Satchidananda, Om Guru Jaya Guru Satchidananda, Om Guru Jaya Guru Satchidananda, Satchidananda 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 you sing, you go to the absolute state, right? Okay, TK, go for the music. Unmute
You're
your.
on mute. You're on mute, Venerable Nakagaki.
Okay, sorry, I do. Thank you. It was wonderful to have music also. And then so I asked actually Rura Leina, maybe if she can make something together with the Buddhism and Hindus in her mind. And so she just makes one song, just a short couple of songs, but then the one somehow meditative, but also the singing and so forth together. And then so this is the title itself is unless they know you. That's so maybe we'll see. Okay, so this is a song by oops, sorry, is this shared now already?
I didn't see in the screen.
Oh, okay, did I share this or no?
On the screen.
You are not in the screen? What'd you say?
I cannot see that on the screen.
She's not in the screen?
Oh, she was. I could see it.
Oh, she was?
Yes.
Yeah, he was. We could see.
Okay. Oh, then I thought it was not. So that's why I just turned off. Let me. Is this now or no? Is she? I'm sorry. Maybe I didn't share now. Right? Did I?
I think so.
Earlier it was coming.
I forgot. Sorry. The technical difficulty is always my professional.
You have no go back.
I always have a way to not to do.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
Now it's coming.
It's coming, sir.
Let me see. Okie doke. Okay.
That was beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful, beautiful.
TK have few announcements.
Yeah. Well,
Tomorrow.
I do not have, do have an announcement. I don't. But anyway, so I just wanted to thank for the later to make those things too. So it was a last minute, the request, but somehow people are kind enough for us to contribute to the yoga community that week. So which is very very appreciated for all of the people. Thank you.
Thank you, TK. I appreciate your support always. TK is in our Global Council as an advisor, and Dr. TP also there. And I see our trustee, Raj Bhushan is here, Gabriel is here, and Yoga Jaya Jor from India is here, MNC Bose is here. I'm looking other people. Okay. So tomorrow we'll have North American Yoga Festival. Those who are living in USA or Canada or Mexico, please join tomorrow. Everyone will have a chance to speak. And we have set program and open program both. So don't think about I didn't invite you, because I have 30 days program from our side and other people's program. So there's no time to interact with the people. I just put it on Facebook. That's where it's going. Usually I'm making flyer the night before and announce it. So same link, same time, 10 to 12. Sometimes we go up to 1 o'clock. We keep it open because we want everybody to speak. We have half set time and half open group. And 30th is our final program. That will be 30th day of the event. We have a special guest from India. He's Dr. Nagendra, HR Nagendra. He is the advisor to the government of India, is speaking. And Ambassador Chowdhury is the former Undersecretary at the United Nations, and Kitagawa from the Parliament of World Religious Group. And some other leaders are going to speak. I made an initial flyer on our website. It is there, and more people I'm going to add. I'll put selected people from different events, and we'll have 3-hour program definitely. So you can invite your friends and family. We can have up to 500 people in the program. So I like to thank all the speakers and TK for supporting this event. It's my I just made plan for 30 days to interview people. That was the initial plan, but end up like a real festival. Every weekend we have South American festival, North American festival, African festival, Asian festival. It's going on like this, So it came very well. I feel people are enjoying.
Sorry.
Are very supportive. So this is a way we had to create it. A lot of time we have this set mind. We had to remove that set mind.
Yeah.
Satsang means it will happen automatically, And this is a place to exchange knowledge globally. It's not we are not a local group. And now we became part of the major groups at the United Nations. Earlier we are associated with the global communications. Now we are going to enter in the Social and Economic Council very soon. So everything in the process. So we have more opportunity to interact with the leaders and the volunteers, NGOs. So we had to use whatever we can do for the people, all the facilities. Okay, take any last word.
Okay.
Guruji,
Thank you so much.
Guruji, can I say something?
Not yet, but the August.
Can I say something?
Can I just finish then?
You can finish. Yeah.
So since we do always have August events too. So I just, as an announcement, if I can include keep in mind for the August 5 in the evening, which is August 6 in Japan for 8:15, the first atomic bomb was dropped, and then also August 9th or August 8 in the evening here But then the August 9th in Japan, 11:02 a.m., second atomic bomb was dropped to Nagasaki. So those 2 days we always have things about the peace, and then we're planning to have about that between those 5th to 9th. We'll have some peace events also. So I'd like to invite you, but I will let you know soon. But be aware that will be announced. So thank you.
Yeah, in this
Keep your
group, I have email for everybody, and most of them are on our Facebook, so they all will get the message.
Great. Thank you so much again, Guruji. And so your wonderful work. And so you're amazing how much you can.
I won't say my wonderful work, it's our wonderful work.
Okay, great. Thanks.
This is a collaborative, right? Rajbhai want to say, he's one of our board member. Rajbhai, unmute yourself. Yeah.
Namaste, everyone. It was an awesome program. I really enjoyed it. Just want to share the prayer of Buddhism. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami, Sangam Sharanam Gacchami. God bless.
So those who are living in New York City, at 4:30 we are gathering at Brighton Beach for a meditation and a beach time today. If you want to join, please join.
Yeah, please join. We'll meet at the corner of Coney Island Avenue and Brighton Beach Avenue. Is the last stop and B train. Thank you.
Maybe we need a Zoom meeting on beach.
Absolutely.
I have a question to Lama Prema. Are you in New York or?
My residence is in New York City,
Uh-huh.
but I am taking refuge in upstate New York from Corona.
Okay. Do you know where is Venerable Nicholas Freeland now?
Nicola Frina, who is a Rorick Museum? Is that one?
Nicholas Freeland is a American monk.
Oh, Nicola. Oh, yeah. He's in India mostly. Yeah.
He's in India. He's my close friend.
Oh, okay.
He used to come to my events in Manhattan.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, he's in India mostly.
Okay, we'll be in touch. Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank
it was
you.
a
Thank you.
beautiful event. There's no question about how it was. I enjoy. I know you enjoy it too.
Yes, we all enjoyed. It's wonderful.
So see you all tomorrow.
I was excited like a small child.
I'm glad you brought that point about Kalinga. Yeah? That is the history. King Ashoka made entire Indian subcontinent as a Buddhist nation. Even in Kerala, only Buddhists were there earlier. Yeah, a lot of story about it.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, sir.
Namaste.
Good day. Nice to meet you.
Bye.